And I'm glad she did. Readers, thank you for coming quietly to the carpet. Make sure your notebooks are closed and on your lap. You will not be opening up your notebooks today. That's flirting. You didn't let me finish my thought, did you? Okay, please be patient.
Seriously.
The reason I had you bring your notebooks today is because you're going to be using them to place your paper on, and you'll be using them to write. You will be using your notebooks for your reading today when you're reading independently, but right now you're going to use it just to hold on, so you don't need them open right now. Make sure you park your pencil, please. So readers, we've been reading Brave Irene during our Making Meaning. And in Making Meaning, we focused on using wonderings and questioning to help us learn more about the story and to think more about the story. And we've been focusing on visualization and inferencing to help us learn more about the character. And today, our goal is to use inferencing to learn more about the character. And when you're using inferencing, Andrew, you're figuring out something that wasn't completely explained in the story, right, Colin? Inferencing is using clues to make a good guess. And we'll be using inferencing today with Brave Irene. So let's get our brains thinking back to the text. And I'm going to read a sentence, and I'm going to ask you to think about and remember what was happening at this point in the story. So your eyes and ears are up here, please. Thank you. Colin, we're waiting. Irene put on her fleece-lined boots, her red hat and muffler, her heavy coat, and her mittens. Who can remember what's happening at this point in the story, Ethan?
Irene is starting to get her stuff on to go deliver the package.
Towards the beginning of the story, she's getting on all of her outdoor gear, getting ready to deliver the package. Any other thoughts about that sentence? Anyone care to add more? Yes, Miss? What?
Right there, she said in that sentence, it's talking about
What she's doing at that point in the story. The next sentence I'm going to read, listen carefully. She pounced and took hold, but the ill-tempered wind ripped the box open. What's happening at this point in this story, Maura?
that she's getting home, that the box is like ripped open and then something very important flew out.
Something very important flew out. What caused the box to rip open, Maura?
The wind.
The wind. It does state right here that, but the ill-tempered wind ripped the box open and something important flew out of the box. What was the important article, Maura?
The dress.
The dress. What was so special about that dress, Caitlin?
It was for Duchess.
It was for a duchess.
Someone to queen.
It's someone of royalty. In the last sentence I'm going to read to you, she was welcomed by cheering servants and a delirious duchess. She was welcomed by cheering servants and a delirious duchess. Do you remember what was happening at that point in this story, Isabel?
She delivered the package.
She delivered the package. Okay, what more happened at that point in the story?
She just found it, and the Duchess was happy that she got it.
Okay, the Duchess is happy that she got her new dress, and Irene had just found the dress. So that brings apart at the beginning of the story. We talked about how she was getting on her articles of clothing for the journey. Eyes up here, please. Park your pencils. We should not be writing with pencils. Thank you. The expectations at carpet are you're listening and eyes are up here, please. Colin, park your pencil. Set it down, please. And then we went to the middle of her journey where the box flew about and the dress flew out of the box. And at the end of the story, towards the end, the Duchess greeted her and was very. So I'm going to read a couple excerpts out of the story. I'm going to have you think about these excerpts, sorry. And you're going to be using inferencing. You're going to be listening for clues to make good guesses about what's happening in this story. So I'm going to go ahead and hand these out to you. And we'll read these together. So grab one and pass one. Grab one and pass one over towards Gwen. Alana, grab one and pass one. Okay, so when you get the excerpts, then I'm going to have you take a few minutes and just look them over. Slide it that way, Kyle, when you get his. Just hand it to Kyle and he'll hold on to the extra. Wait, let's read that first one together. Eyes on that first one. Cold snow sifted into her boots and chilled her feet. She pushed out her lip and hurried on. This was an important errand. Readers, I want you to think about, what does this excerpt tell you about Irene? What in this excerpt gives you this thinking? What supports your thinking? We're not going to share out right now. I want you to go ahead and read that one more time. And this is your copy. So right underneath that excerpt, I want you to jot your thinking down. What does this excerpt tell you about Irene? What did you learn about Irene in those sentences? Cold snow sifted into her boots and chilled her feet. She pushed out her lip and hurried on. This was an important errand. What did you learn about Irene? What did you learn about Irene in that excerpt? Jot your thinking down, Eli and Ava. What did you learn about Irene? And what supports your thinking about this? Well, we're using inferencing. We're using clues in these sentences to learn more about Irene, our character. So cold snow sifted into her boots and chilled her feet. She pushed out her lips and hurried on. This was an important errand. Authors give us information about characters, and sometimes they'll give you information directly about the character, and sometimes you'll have to use clues. And that's what I'm asking you to do today. Use the clues the author has given us to learn more about the character. What does the character say or do in that passage that helps you learn about the kind of person she is? Does that help you? What is the character saying or doing in those sentences to help you learn about her? Once you jotted your thinking, I want you to go back and underline the part that made you think that about Irene. Underline the part that made you think that about Irene. This part we'll do independently, and then the next part we'll have you talk with your partner. So raise your hand if you can share out your thinking. What did you learn about Irene in those sentences? Mr. Ethan?
I learned that she was brave because she kept going even though her feet were cold.
Well, let me jot that down. And I don't know that you can hear. Just for this, I'm going to turn off that fan so we can hear. So this is what Ethan just shared. He learned that Irene is brave, and he supported it with because. What did you underline? Because
cold snow sifted into her boots until their feet, even though she kept going.
So Irene is brave because even though feet were cold, she kept on going. Ethan used those clues in the text to learn more about Irene. What did you want to share, Miss Liliana?
It was great because she pushed out her lip and she lay down.
Okay, what does pushing out her lip tell you about a character?
That she is a
Okay, so Irene. Irene is not giving up. She pushes out her lip and keeps on going. What might this tell you about the kind of person Irene is? These clues here. Caitlin?
that she won't give up.
She's not giving up. Yes, Alana?
She's courageous.
She could be courageous. She could be courageous. Colin?
Trusted because it says that it was an important errand and she had to go through all this.
Ooh, she could be trusted. She could be trusted because it says right here that
It's a very important errand.
this was an important errand. That last sentence talks about the important errand. Wow, readers, you're really doing a great job with that. You're using the clues that the author gives you about Irene, and you're learning more about her just from those clues. You're learning the kind of person that Irene is. She's brave, she never gives up, she perseveres, and she is trusted because she's trusted with an important errand. And she's very determined. That could be just not trusted, but she is determined. Determined. All right, let's try that next passage. Let's look at the next one. She laid the box down and climbed aboard, but it pressed into the snow and stuck. She tried again, and this time, instead of climbing on, she leaped. The box shot forward like a sled. What does this expert tell you about Irene? I want you to jot your thinking. What does this tell you about Irene? And make sure you underline the part that supports your thinking. She laid the box down and climbed aboard, but it pressed into the snow and stuck. She tried again, and this time, instead of climbing on, she leaped. The box shot forward like a sled. What does that tell you about Irene? Jot your thinking down. What did you learn about Irene in that passage? Think about the clues the author is giving you about Irene.